Hello, family. Welcome back to JFK Today, your direct link to all things politics, comedy, and culture. I am your host, Janaya Future Khan, champ yapper and frequent nuisance in the activist and comedy worlds. Let's get dialed in. Before we jump, JFK Today is a self-funded, self-produced show. We are on Patreon at Janaya FK. I am so grateful for all the support and for you just taking the time to listen. Now, time to get into the overview. It is Mangione Mania. It seems only fitting that we continue the conversation that's been going on for several days. There are some updates on the case. I, low-key, just want to jump in because I would tell you from the bottom of my heart, if it were true, that I was over talking about a bisexual, hot Italian-American, but I am not. The other topic of the day, I've tried to find a different way of saying it, but it's just crack cops. It's going to make sense, I promise. And the last major thing is autism? ? I promise you want to hear about that one. So, where are we right now? Okay, Mangione. So, do you remember a couple of days ago when this case first broke, right? And we named on this show the bullets, like the inscriptions on the bullets. It was like delay, deny, depose, right? Remember that? And what did we say a couple of days ago? That this was clearly a reference to Jay Feinman's book, Delay, Deny, Defend, Why Insurance Companies Don't Pay Claims and What You Can Do About It. It is a PDF. It is fully available online. Yes, I have read it. It is fairly useful. Some of the information is dated, but the language and the back end information that it references, I think, can be super, super helpful. And you know what? I think we should dedicate some time in one of these episodes to really breaking it down because, as I mentioned, this is the fight. This is the unifying fight. I think that this is exactly where we need to be. You are exactly where you need to be too. We're in it. Trust me, we are in this shit. So, to CNN, thanks for catching up with us over here. We already knew. You guys are late. Most importantly, a new character has emerged in this case, okay? Luigi Mangione's lawyer has emerged. Thomas Dickey. His name is Thomas Dickey, and he has made it clear that they will plead not guilty. He's been on ABC. He's been on CNN. I want to play for you a little clip on the man that's going to save Mangione.
Against his client while speaking to reporters just a few minutes ago. Take a listen.
Listen, I haven't seen any evidence that says that he's the shooter. So that's, like I said earlier, and I wasn't kidding around. A couple of things. If you're going to report something, report accurately. And remember, and this is not just a small thing, the fundamental concept of American justice is the presumption of innocence.
That's right. It's the presumption of innocence.
And until you're proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And I've seen zero evidence at this point.
Okay, he made me feel so safe. I just love like a hard-nosed, hard-working white man. Give me one and put him on the case. Thomas Dickey. Thomas Dickey said, "You don't have shit on my guy. You have circumstantial evidence. You have a notebook. You know, who doesn't scribble in a notebook about billionaires and human suffering profiteers that need to go? Just me? Is it just me? I don't think so. No. I've read some Nikki Giovanni poems. We all have feelings, okay? We all have feelings. But here's the thing. Much of the evidence is circumstantial. Now, in the coming days and weeks, we're going to see police and law enforcement working backwards to create an indicting story against Mangione. Now, here's the thing. Here's what's important to note. So I read today in several news sources that police identified or made a connection between fingerprints at the scene of the crime, right, with Mangione's fingerprints. They matched it, but they don't say how. They do not say where they got these fingerprints from. So they're going to have their job cut out with them. Now, did Mangione make a couple of mistakes along the way? He certainly did. There is a cyber trail that definitely paints or alludes to a particular story. But again, that is circumstantial. The thing that is perhaps the most damning, and I do not think that they cannot make a case of this, is when he pulled his mask down to flirt with the person at the hostel. So, look, the other thing, of course, is that he has a gun similar to the murder weapon. He also had a silencer and a fake ID. But I'm like, he just sounds interesting to me. He just sounds like a very interesting person. And the 3 handwritten pages that were allegedly also in his possession are just, the police and New York police are treating it to be a claim of responsibility. But in truth, right, it's the appearance of such. All he's really doing is talking about his frustrations with the U.S. healthcare system. Hello, I think that's all of us. But here's the thing. One thing where I think Mangione is going to take a bit of a hit is he does not want to be extradited to the state of New York. He wants to stay in Pennsylvania. Well, New York Governor Kathy Hochul is definitely pushing for his extradition. She wants him prosecuted there. And you know what? I know that he doesn't want to be there. But I'm just like, no, bring him to the great state of New York, the kingdom of bisexuals. I'm just going to say it. Good luck finding a jury that does not want to fuck him. You don't indict who you want to sleep with. Like, you know what I mean? Every gay man and woman in America, every queer and questioning person is going to have that Annalise Keating stomp walking into the courtroom ready to defend Luigi Mangione. Okay? Come on. Washington Post had an article on today. It said, the suspect had so much to offer because, they do that when white boys do bad things. They're just like, oh, you're so promising. It's so much to offer. And it's like, yeah, that dick, it's very clear. Okay. I need to be serious now. This is getting out of control. Thomas Dickey, the lawyer, though, did say on CNN that people across, really America and the world have reached out offering to pay fully for Mangione's legal defense. It's low-key a movement. This is going to be an interesting turn of events for sure. I want him walking away free and clear if possible. I feel like somebody else did it. I feel very strongly about that, I did have somebody say to me, this wouldn't be happening if he was black. And I'm like, yeah. Yes, that is objectively true, right? But sometimes that's not the right way. Sometimes I'm like, let's bring in a Johnny Cochran type of vibe. I'm okay with that, right? I am totally okay with that. I'm happy with that. I'm like, if the crime don't fit, you must acquit. Okay, that's it. Go ahead and take from us what you need. This is one of those things where it's like, yes, you are stating an obvious objective thing. We don't need to apply it to this case. This is who, let's just be really clear about this. This is who we would prefer to do this. Give me a Ivy League educated, comes from a wealthy family, white boy who is radicalized, right? Because of his beliefs and probably a suit of other things that come with society's ills. But this is ideally the case. This is the person. Anyway, we got to jump into that second story, okay? I found this. I read this. I had to read it again. I was like, this can't be legit. This was the headline. Broward County to vacate convictions for people who bought crack made by the sheriff's office. I was like, I was going to use this as a wacky headline, but then I had to go in and really get that. I'm like, I want to make sure that we understand what I just read, right? You got that, right? The sheriff's department in Broward County made crack, sold crack, and then jailed the people that bought crack from them. That's like setting a town on fire just so you can be seen putting it out and then calling yourself a hero. jokes aside, this is just evil, right? Like this happened almost 30 years ago. And according to numbers cited in the statement, some estimates have placed the number of cases involved to be as high as 2,600, right? And I know you think, oh, 2,600, but that's 2,600 people whose lives were directly impacted by this. And this practice was so rampant in Florida, and I mean, we could literally say in a lot of places across the United States, right? But in 1993, the Florida State Supreme Court repeatedly described reverse things. That's what they're called, right? When officers plant things on people or set them up to fail, reverse things as outrageous and ruled that it violates an individual's right to due process. But here's the thing. A routine audit, right, of documents found hundreds of those arrests and convictions that are still on the books and part of people's criminal records, right? So this stops you from being able to get housing, from being able to get, jobs, any kind of meaningful, gainful employment. It is a deterrent on every aspect of your life. It inhibits exponentially any kind of upward mobility or just living a normal, regular life. And what is so upsetting is that there are going to be people who don't even know that this happened, right? Because due diligence isn't taking place. Like they're not being reached out to with enough consistency. Anyway, I just couldn't believe it. I mean, of course I could, but I couldn't. So that is a story that I will be following, rest assured. Here comes the annoying stuff. And then there's going to be something annoying. And then I found two solid W's that I want to uplift, right? Here's the annoying thing. Do you remember Mark Zuckerberg? You remember how he went through a whole thing where he looked like he grew out his hair, his little curls, and he looks like an adult version of Drake's son? Okay. He looks ridiculous. And it was like, oh, pulled back on Meta in anything to do with politics. So Instagram, Facebook, I'm sure you've gotten a warning. Like I could call somebody a loser and I get a content warning that's not something that I should post. So get this. On Wednesday, Meta donated $1 million to President Trump's, or I should say soon to be president-elect, right? Donald Trump's inaugural fund. And this is just the latest move, right? That Zuckerberg has made to foster positive, basically to kiss the ring, the ass of Donald Trump, right? So they didn't provide any details about why it made the donation, right? But we all know what that's about, right? Like this literally came just weeks after Zuckerberg met with Mr. Trump. I want us to be very clear, right? Andreessen, Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Soon Shung of LA Times, Jeff Bezos, Zuckerberg. We are seeing an oligarchy move in the open. And I read a very compelling article today in the New York Times. And it was from a journalist who had worked there from 2000. So literally the year 2000, 24 years ago, and is now resigning from the position, but not from, journalism, just wants something new, and talked about what's changed, right? Like what he saw as different between then and now. And when you think about it, right, like we would all tend to go to the same place, right? Obviously technology, this and that. But people, one thing he mentioned was that people are much more resentful. In 2000, there was this hopefulness, right? There was this energy, this sense of possibility, which often happens. And, that was true with early industrialization. It was early Silicon Valley tech era, right? Technology is going to make us into perfect beings, right? But really, we know that wasn't the case at all. It was just massively exploitative and made a very few people rich, etc. But he expands it out, the aperture. He widens up the aperture. And I really appreciated this, right? He said, we typically want to spend that time thinking about people, but based on his relationship, right, to this larger ecosystem, he has information by proxy on these billionaire guys, this oligarchy that we've talked about. And one thing that he mentions and spends a great deal talking about is how billionaires themselves have become the most resentful, right? That in the last several years as they've accumulated wealth. If you recall, right, go back to like 2000, right? There was a way that the extremely wealthy could not be in public that way. We were disgusted by them. We thought that the accumulation of that kind of wealth suggested something nefarious. Nefarious? I never remember how to say these fucking words. Anyway, you know what I mean. It's midnight here. And, I've been thinking about that, how that's changed, right? In the last 2 decades, there's been this obsession with billionaires. What do they read? What do they eat? What are their sleep patterns like? What's their skincare routine? And it's like, who fucking cares? But we have shifted culturally to admiration, but it's not across the board. And that's what they're most resentful of. They believe that they should be worshipped, that they should be venerated in a particular way, and that they should be in charge. They have bought into that story that capitalism has sold, that mainstream media has propagated, that they are inherently special. And when you hear them speak, right, like Elon Musk said 2 days ago, and it was specifically related to this Jordan Neely case, right? That homeless is just this is what I'm paraphrasing a specific thing he said. Homeless was just was just now a word that people use to describe mentally ill and criminal. And somebody did a quote tweet and said, or no, homeless means that you don't have a home. But that reframing, they actually feel such disgust for everyday people, right? Such disgust and loathing. They genuinely believe that they are special and that there's something about them that makes them different. And that's what unchecked power does. That's what happens when you just accumulate. It's grotesque. I just thought that was really interesting because we see over and over again, and it's going to become much clearer, right? The extent to which an oligarchy has absolutely consolidated its power, used a bunch of 20-something-year-old millionaire idiot boys to further its ends, and will do everything it can to undercut labor, undercut just basic rights on every level, and any kind of federal checks and regulations on their rapacious greed. So this is our era. This is our era to take the gloves off. When I mean it, I know. And it's like, well, what do we plug into and what do we got to do? And I'm like, right now, enjoy this moment. Enjoy this moment where things are the same. These next couple of weeks, it's the last time that things are going to be the same. And I know we miss the days, the old normal, right? But I can't tell you how much I feel so strongly. And I'm good at this stuff, at knowing this stuff, that our best years, our absolute best years are in front of us. I really, really believe that everything that we have learned has been for a reason. It's like, but we have to do something with what we know. That's it. Anyway, here's back to the episode and the most loserish shit that I read today by Zuckerberg, right? He had 2 phone calls with Trump over the summer. One, right, was after the, I'm using air quotes here, the assassination attempt on Trump. He called him and was like, I'm praying for you. Can you imagine Zuckerberg praying for fucking anything? I don't think so. I'm like, say a word we can literally believe. The other thing that he said, was that in an interview, Zuckerberg referred to Trump as that he looked like in a call. He looked like a badass after being shot at. He used the word badass. Can you imagine how he said it with his thin lips? Ugh. Anyway, here's some W's, right? We're talking about the losers. Here's some big W's that I can really fucking get behind. New Jersey signed in book protections into law. Let's go. New Jersey Democratic Governor Phil Murphy signed a law on Monday prohibiting public and school libraries from banning books in the state, and he enshrined protections against civil and criminal charges for librarians who comply with the law. I love that. I love that because it is the people who provide services who are going to be hit hardest by these laws. It's nurses and doctors who outside of obviously the people, right, the recipients of services. Those are the first hit. But the second wave is always the people who provide those services. And that's how we lose people who actually are essential to our care and our fucking society. So this was a big win. And New Jersey is now joining Illinois and Minnesota with this. And I just want to make something very clear about where we're at in this country. New Jersey is leading the charge on education and shit. Like, I know they got Princeton, but like New Jersey, like Jersey Shore, Jersey. I love that. I'm just like, do you know how down bad we got to be for New Jersey to be leading the country right now? And if anybody's offended, just remember that I am Canadian and I'm a nice little guy. And maybe I need to experience New Jersey the way you see it through your magical eyes. I am so open for that. Anyway, another W of the week, Montana. Its Supreme Court blocked a ban on gender-affirming care for trans youth. Fucking cool, right? These wins are so significant. They're not getting enough attention because, of course, that's not what the news media does. But anyway, it matters. So get this, right? Montana is one of 26 states that have introduced bans on gender-affirming care for minors. And I remember this, right? Go back a couple episodes, you already know. These bans are bullshit. It is specifically discriminating against trans youth because regular kids, right? Quote, regular kids with weird little abnormalities because our bodies are fucking weird that either develops too early or develops too late. There's no problem there. They use those medications already. There's no safety issues. Everybody's on board with it, but it's just when they identify as trans. So the state's top court temporarily stopped SB 99 on grounds that it will likely violate privacy rights enshrined in the Constitution. These kinds of precedents enable other Supreme State courts to do the same. And why this matters? Because it is a critical moment nationwide. There's like a nationwide battle right now over medical care for trans youth. We know this, right? Earlier this month, we talked about this, right? The U.S. Supreme Court heard oral arguments in a landmark case. I debated on whether or not I should use the word oral. Oral arguments. It doesn't feel right. Verbal arguments? Ugh. Oral argument. I'm like, aren't all arguments oral? I guess they could be typed. This is what happens when it's midnight. Okay, anyway. They heard arguments in that case with the ACLU. It was landmark, and others on the Tennessee ban. We already know where they landed there. The ultra conservative supermajority. They appeared like they would uphold the ban. We don't have full confirmation yet, right? But this is the thing. Trans adolescents in Montana, right, regardless of what the Supreme Court does, will be shielded against any adverse ruling from the country's highest court because Montana's decision is based entirely on the state's own constitution, and as such, it is insulated from the federal courts. That is a win. Yay! Okay. Look, there are limits to the state-by-state fight. We're seeing that with abortion, right? But this is a dirty game. And it's going to be a little while before we have our hands on the right levers of power, right? We know we got to watch this stuff with AOC, this and that and the other, but we got to take the wins as they come, even the small ones. It is so important that we celebrate victories. Now, onto a weird matter, right? Because I feel like this is the last episode of the week. So settle a debate, all right? Indulge me a moment, family. Settle a debate. We're moving into the autism part, right? So pretty much every friend I've ever had in the past 20 years, and that's my, adult life, right, has insisted that I am on the spectrum. I disagree. That is the entirety of my argument. I disagree. I simply disagree. I believe that the things that are specific to my responses to other things are entirely within the realm of normality. And I believe that I am a great case study for what average people are like. Someone named KR laughed very loudly when I said that. They're one of those, they don't even know when they just slice you up. They're just like, you are not. Like, you are not that. Okay, anyway. Before you already know I need to give you my little diatribe about my little rant, because I do feel some kind of way about the sudden fad nature on neurodivergency, right? Just you're indulging me. But like when it was just black kids and poor white trash being pathologized as neurodivergent, we didn't have a cute name like that, right? And getting a second tier education because they were like autistic or ADHD. Nobody else was saying that they were neurodivergent. It was it was heavily stigmatized, right? And like, but then let me tell you what happened. But then straight white guys started calling themselves non-binary. That's what happened. And then they painted 2 fingernails, right? And queers decided that they needed another plug. That's what happened. And they chose neurodivergency, okay? This is, right? And there are also many people out there who have made genuine discoveries about themselves as adults, which I applaud. But we know that there is some weird shit with this when I look and it's just like they, them, / AUDHD / and I'm just like, are these auxiliary chords? Like, what are we doing? And it's just what happens when it becomes your entire identity marker. Like there was a person who said that I didn't know what intersectionality was. It was a white queer person who I had all these things. And then when I said, I don't want to be, and this is very different from this was on Threads, so it was even more garbage. This is different than the TikTok people. I said, I'm usually not this person, but I would love to save us some time. And could you just like do a very cursory Google search on some of my work? And the person did and came back and said, well, I'm autistic. To this day, I don't know what that means. I have no idea what the application of that was. It was like, well, I got this wrong because I am an autist. I know that's, I'll take off my little comedy hat. Okay. So there are some genuine discoveries. We know this, but I do believe that there is this like cutesy neurodivergency thing, largely moved by lefty white queers. It's the whole like, I'm socially awkward, so I have autism thing. And it's when ADHD is turned into an entire identity. This is not just me. Black folks, we are annoyed. There's a comic, Niles Absent. He said it, and you've heard me say this in different versions, but he wrote on Twitter that white people talk about having ADHD like they went through Jim Crow. I can't. Sorry. I do want to, again, illustrate the fact that many people have made discoveries later on in life. That does matter. And you too are annoyed by people who are forming entire identities based off of this. Okay. I've said what I needed to say. Okay, I'll just get to the point. I took a test. There was a free autism test that is circulating online, okay? It's radstest.com. So that's RAADS test.com, okay? This is, you guys know, I'm not like, this is not some weird thing. I came across it online. A lot of people have been using it. So I want to qualify so much. I want to qualify to you so much in my defense, okay? In my defense, I just want to say that I have what I believe to be very normal responses to things like smells and sounds. And I don't believe that I believe in very neutral environments. And I believe that all people are socially awkward, including myself. So I took the test, and what it had said is that 25, and they don't worry, they have this on their site, but like 25 is no indication of autism. 50 is presence of some traits, right? 65 is the base threshold for potential autism consideration. So basically, if you have 65 or below, you pretty much don't have it, right? So I took the test, and then I ended up getting, I don't want to say, but this is what it said to me. It was very rude. It's very anti-black. It's very racist, very clearly, right? But what it said to me was that I had the highest score recorded by individuals with autism in the foundational RADS-R study. And I felt very offended by that because I believe that anyway, KR, could you just, okay, we need to have this because I don't have this.
This might be a new discovery for Future, but let's talk about what happened today. You walked in the house and I had cooked some sweet potatoes, just sweet potatoes. What happened, Future?
I said that that's not a smell. There's a smell. The words that came out of my mouth, there is a smell, and then I needed to re-neutralize the space.
Proceeded to not be able to work or think without screaming how much the house smelled because there were sweet potatoes that were cooked. And the same thing happened the other day when I cooked chicken and rice, maybe some vegetables. Okay, so smells, sounds. Tell them about jazz music. How do you feel about jazz music?
Okay, I just want to say that I like black jazz players. Okay, I love it, but it's erratic. It's erratic. That's the only thing. The horns. Okay, I like orchestral. It's okay. I don't.
But the horns are too much.
They're gonna take my black card away.
Okay,
Just move on.
How did we meet? At a party, you were so awkward. You were shadow boxing in the corner.
Yes, because yes.
Okay, just a little socially awkward. How about
I don't talk. I know, but okay, nobody. But okay, who's not socially awkward? Who likes smells? Also, okay, what's the last thing? Change. Okay, yes, it's true. If even minute changes, I work 98% of the time. Like, I don't like not working. It makes me very happy. So changes in my routine, which happen regularly because that's life, I don't handle that well. But I don't, who does? Do I have some kind of systemic failure? Sure. But who doesn't? Who doesn't get diarrhea if you can't find your favorite pen? That's a normal human response.
What about if you can't find your favorite fork? You just don't eat.
Everybody likes to eat with small forks. This is ridiculous. I'm being attacked. And it's okay. There are specific utensils that I eat with only, but that is because I am a little guy and a little guy should have little utensils. Somebody help me. I just feel like I'm not used to being inarticulate because if I have autism, I don't have a problem with that, but I don't feel like this is a strong enough case because everybody doesn't like change. Nobody likes smells. Do they? Do people? No. And sounds are any kinds of sounds are impossible to work with, right? This is very normal stuff. Please don't tell anyone. I have tried very hard. I like Louis Armstrong, okay? Please don't tell anyone I'm like this. Okay, well, I don't like this game. KR, what did you get when you took the test?
30 something.
Okay, so KR got 30 something. 31 is just between, presence of some traits, though it's unlikely to be. But this is the thing. I understand that it's a spectrum, but the idea that I'm on the other side, highest score recorded by individuals with autism in the foundational RAD study, I just feel like they didn't need to say it like that. They could have said it in any number of ways. But for a lot of folks, learning about these things, right? This is now where I'm going to do the upswing because it's my job, has been really, really helpful. And there was an article, I believe it was either in the Washington Post or the New York Times today, where people have discovered that they had ADHD late in life. And this is what I did not know. And it's so incredibly important to know is, and KR also is a person who identified the fact because they're an educator and very smart and have very close relationships with people who have ADHD, but that it is linked to things like depression, and things of that nature. And so I don't know. I just am a big fan of understanding how your brain works, and what you need to work. And yes, I spend a great deal of time by myself, a great deal of time, and I love to work. And it's true. I like a very neutral work environment with that never changes how it smells or sounds. And I feel like everybody does, right? You guys, we're the same. Okay. I'm now going off, but I'm so curious. Go ahead, like if you feel like it, if you're inclined to, it's a free thing, and you don't have to like give them. You don't have to pay for it. I didn't pay to find out what it all said about me in depth. Okay, I don't need an autism horoscope. Okay, like, but but you guys feel the way I do, right? Like, like we like things the same, and it's okay that some. Okay. Everything I say is going to be very indicting. We're going to move on. We're going to move on. We're going to move on. I can't stand Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin. They're horrible people. Hopefully our labor work will be great. I'm ranting now. You know what? Why don't we hit the VMs for the question of the day? I am a normal person. That is a good example of what regular people do and like.
Hey Future, this is Mia from Minneapolis. Love the show. Thank you for having a Patreon. And my question...
Oop, it froze. That's so odd. Sorry, guys. No. Hold on, I'm going to refresh this. Don't worry, Mia. I think we're going to have to get your question from the top. Sorry for the redundancy, you guys.
Hey Future, this is Mia from Minneapolis. Love the show. Thank you for having a Patreon. And my question, so I started watching Fairy Tale after you were talking about it. And my question is for you today is, who is your favorite character besides Natsu? Thanks.
Oh, that is such a good question, Mia. Again, quick apologies for the redundancy. You know, we do this like one shot, one take. That is okay. First of all, I love this question, Mia, and I think it's awesome you're watching Fairy Tale. And also, thank you for, I'm still figuring out the Patreon shit, so I really appreciate it. It is a tie for me between Gray and Urza, but I think Urza wins out because, and maybe this is also indicting, Urza and my personality are very similar in terms of the disciplinarian aspect of it, but the contrariness, right? Like Urza is never gives. So just, I know you guys don't know what I'm talking about. Urza is this S-class warrior. She never gives up. She can transform into anything and always rises to the occasion. But also doesn't make, like, she's so efficient, but when she travels, she has like a wagon full of shit and just like it trails behind her everywhere she goes. And she doesn't like change, but she changes her clothes often. And then Gray is just moody, and I just really like him. Even though he's made some weird decisions on the show. Also, I'm almost never wearing a shirt. So we're similar that way. I love this question. Thank you. Can't wait till the Discord's up so that we can all talk about the results of this test. Is it just me, or is it getting hot in here? Okay. Do you know, I did ask Zerna, and she described taking me places, which she often has to, it's always a negotiation. She said it would be like, it's like inviting Malcolm X to brunch and then watching him try to tell jokes. So I got shredded. Anyway, why don't we just get out? Well, it's time to hit the outro music, because, yep. Alrighty. First of all, just want to say thank you so much for listening to JFK Today. It means the world to me. This show really is a labor of love. New episodes drop 4 times a week. We're available everywhere podcasts are. JFK Today is self-funded. If you love this show, feel free to be an investor. We are at patreon.com/JanayaFK. More is coming on the way. Trust and believe. Anyway, I want to hear from you. Drop your voice note questions to jfktodaysshow@gmail.com. Shout out to KR and Carolyn, and shout out to you, the listeners, that make it all possible. Love you. Peace.